Welcome to RPG Book Club. On this episode, a man records a podcast and forgets to edit it for over a week. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little chunk of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Michael Rodriguez.
And that's all we got today.
That's it.
Last night, we got advanced news that Spiffle's hard drive collapsed, so he wasn't going to make it today. So we were like, okay, cool. No problem. We still have 3 people. We can record without you. And then today, Eli woke up sick, so he's kind of leading the whole thing. But that was today, so we didn't have time to prepare a bonus episode. So this is extremely off the cuff. This is RPG Book Club Unplugged. This is
It's RPG Book Club Untucked. That's literally what it is.
That's us.
We're just kind of, shooting from the hip here with this episode.
We technically do have 2 games to talk about. Like, we're not going to be completely and totally different.
Right.
But it's going to be completely and totally different. So
yeah. We're going to just take this moment to just talk about some things, like, how was your week? How's been your week? So, like, this week, we had the patch release for World of Warcraft.
I haven't worked yet after the patch, so I have surfed Twitter after the patch, so I'm sure tomorrow will be a grand old time for me.
So if you guys haven't played, a new patch came out for a while. You can no longer get your Mage Tower artifact appearances, womp womp womp, but this introduces like the quest line for the Burning of Teldrassil, and it's going to be really exciting. A whole bunch of new features came out. The Blizzard communities came out, but they have that on pause. And they also did the item stat squish. So that's like what's been happening around, at least this week to, for me, like that's what I've been working on a lot is this patch because it's just been so much. I don't have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. But what games have you been playing?
So I have accidentally dedicated my life over the past 2 weeks to playing this game called Survival Kids for the Game Boy Color.
Is it a survival game?
It is one of the first survival games that I could at least find. So basically, this is the whole plot of the first game. So this is why I said it's practically completely different, because I'm about to cover 2 whole games and I can probably finish both of them by 10 minutes because that's how little there is. So the first game, you are on a cruise ship with your dad, and your dad gives you this knife as like you're a grown kid now. You play as either a boy or a girl, and gives you his knife. You slip it into your backpack, and then the ship sinks. And so you wash up on this desert island with just your backpack and a canteen and a knife, and then good luck, and you move on from there. As you go through, you find like a hut that you can live out of, and you find this monkey that's going around. And
you don't build it; you just find the hut.
Yeah, you find the hut, but you still have to forage for food. You have to hunt animals. You have to like craft all of your items to survive. And long about a couple of days in, you find this radio, and when you find the radio, there starts the 8 possible endings that you can get for this game.
On a Game Boy game?
On a Game Boy game, there's 8 possible endings. So the first ending is you find the radio and you listen to the radio enough that you realize that there's a ship coming by, and and so you make a SOS sign, the ship sees you, and you're saved. And you can finish the game in like 2 seconds with that, which is super cool. But more than likely, because you have to spam it like 20 times looking at this radio to get it to finally hear the right broadcast. But more than likely, you'll examine it and be like, oh, this isn't doing nothing. I'll save it for later. And you go to sleep. And then when you go to sleep, you hear the radio say that they've called off the search. So then you have to find your own way off. So you start building this raft. And when you build the raft, you go out to sea, get caught in a hurricane, and it sends you back to the island, but on the opposite side. So then you work your way from that other side of the island, and you find this like old ship. And the old ship is locked to the dock with these with these big locks that like take a gem to fit into it because it's a video game and you have to find 7 gems. So then you go off to find all the 7 gems, and depending on other things you do or not, because there's 8 endings, you find another kid that's stuck on the island. So you can choose to nurse him back to health or not nurse him back to health, find all the gems, find his missing item, etc. And then when you get 6 of the 7 gems, it unlocks this big temple. And so then you make your way through that temple, solving like Zelda-style puzzles, meanwhile still dying of thirst, still dying of starvation, still needing to sleep and all that stuff.
That's really intense.
And so you make your way through the temple, get the last gem, and then you sail off on the boat with your homeboy. And it's great because the island is huge and there's so much stuff to do, and you're constantly like figuring stuff out. Like it feels like Metroidvania-y because you're like, okay, well, there's this big rock in the way. I don't have anything to do to deal with this big rock. So what am I going to do? And then as you're exploring another part of the island, you find a big stick, and then the big stick will use its big stick energy and push the rock out of the way. And then you have more part of the island to explore and stuff. And it's super great. But then the second game, because there's 2 of them, so, Survival Kids 2, also for the Game Boy Color, only came out in Japan, but they finished a mostly good English patch, like last year or something. It's mostly good because if you let a nut rot inside of your storage shed, it'll glitch out the game and makes it hard to play. But like you have to exit the hut and come back in to do it. But we were playing with the English patch, and this one is your 2 brothers about to go and go on this camping trip, and you're like, oh yeah, didn't our grandpa say that like the place we're going has like a has like a buried treasure on it or something, and then fucking like Team Rocket fucking comes down from a helicopter. Like this chick reminds me so much of Jessie from Team Rocket, comes down out of a helicopter and is like, you're right, your grandpa does know where this treasure is, and you're going to give me the map or I'm going to kidnap you. And we're like, what? Okay. And then she kidnaps us. And so like,
like I'm going to kidnap you, and then it happens.
And then it literally happens. So y'all are flying away in this helicopter. And big bro is like, oh, what do we do? And little bro is like, I'm not having none of this. I'm going to stand up on my seat and I'm going to yell at these people for kidnapping us and blah 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 blah. So they throw the little bro out of the plane or out of the helicopter. And this is where one of the coolest things about the second one starts. So I think there's a way through conversation you can get big bro or little bro for either starting point, but little bro washes up on the island, and big bro gets put in jail with because he's kidnapped, like he's held in a cell over on this on the other island, and you start in either place. So if you picked little bro / got through the conversation the right way, you'll end up on the island. And then if you play as big bro or maybe the conversation, you start in the jail. And so you have to like escape the jail / get your break into the jail, and then so this one, instead of having like the other game, it was like variations on how do you leave the boat. Like, do you leave the boat with the boy, with the monkey, with the boy in love with you, etc. This one, there's so many different endings, so you have a lighthouse that you can repair, and then that'll call a boat for you. There's a old warship that you can steal the entire warship and repair it and fly away on this battleship, which is insane. Or it has a lifeboat on it, and you can repair the lifeboat and just take the lifeboat. Or you can find your grandpa's treasure, or you can just stay in jail for 100 days, or be lost on the island for 100 days.
And this is still on a Game Boy game?
All of this is the Game Boy Color, and it's so good. It's so great. That's the whole of the game, and we're at 9 minutes and 32 seconds. So I did it under 10 minutes. But those are both games. They're highly recommended by me. There's 4 more games in the series, but they do a drastic change in the series. The so drastic, in fact, that in America they're not even the same series. But have you heard of the Lost and Blue games for the DS?
I'm gonna. It sounds very familiar, and I need to look it up to look at the box.
Yeah. In Japan, Lost and Blue is Survival Kids 3 Lost and Blue, but it's just Lost and Blue over here. And so those games are all Survival Kids-esque, but they, like, the core gameplay loop is there, but the style and way you do everything is not there. And so it's less a Survival Kids game and more like it's like when Sonic jumped to 3D. It's like, yeah, these are still Sonic games, but they're not like Sonic games. It's the same way here. Like, oh yes, it jumped to 3D, but like you don't do the same sort of stuff. And then you have in all of the Lost and Blue games, you find another person, and instead of that being like you play as a boy or you play as a girl, like the first two are, it's you have to like keep both people alive and use both people for puzzles and stuff like that, and it's changed a lot. But yeah, that's what I've been playing for the last 2 weeks. That's why the episode went up late on Saturday. Is Wednesday when we were done recording, I was like, all right, time for me to play some Survival Kids and then edit, and then I played Survival Kids until midnight with Summer.
Nice.
So
Hey, that's cool. That's always fun.
It's really good. What about you? What have you been playing?
Well, I remember seeing the Survival Kids game. Yeah, like, wasn't it first released when the DS came out?
So the Lost and Blue? Yeah, that
Lost
was like
and Blue.
Yeah, that was a like launch title for the DS, I think. Real close to it.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. But outside of that, I didn't know. It's really cool that they were able to fit all of that in a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah, like it's almost the size of like Hyrule or not Hyrule, because you don't go to Hyrule in any of the three games, but your world map in the three Game Boy Zelda games. But instead of like half of that being wasted for dungeon, it's like all of that is more places for you to explore and do all of that stuff. So it's huge, has a bunch of endings, bunch of items, bunch of stuff, and it's so much fun. Highly recommended.
Okay, well, geez, that's actually hilarious because I would have never even looked at that series otherwise.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been playing?
So I had been playing like a lot of Splatoon 2 of the Octo expansion because it came out a few weeks ago. And you know, Splatoon 2 has a really cool single player story, but I think Nintendo really went out of their way to kind of make this game a like the Dark Souls of Nintendo games.
All right.
in that it's like it's very difficult to complete all the levels. But when you do, in a very Nintendo fashion, you know, I don't really want to spoil the story for a lot of people if they haven't played it yet. But if you haven't played it yet, that's, you know, get on that. But you basically like you when you fire up Splatoon 2, you're in Inkopolis, which is like their city, and you have to go to like the subway, and all the dialogue that it gives you is like you hear a noise, and when you continue, it just takes you to underground where you wake up as an Octoling, and that's it. And then a character from the game before essentially helps you get out of there. But really the story is nice, but really the where the game shines is in its difficulty, because you have to you get a currency for beating levels in this underground train track, so your map looks like a train station. Like,
nice.
Yeah, so you like navigate around a map that looks like a train station, that looks like a train map, really. There's 80 levels.
Oh damn.
Yeah, and these 80 levels are kind of like little mini games that can last from like 5 minutes to like 20 minutes per level. Yeah, so it just kind of depends on which it is, and I say 20 minutes meaning that like any individual level can maybe last like 10 minutes, but it's very rare that you one shot a level, so you end up attempting it a lot. I know there was times where I'm just like, oh my god, I can't progress any further, I don't want to do these boss fights, let me just try tomorrow. But it's hard. I mean, every single time, like there's a sculpting challenge in
Hmm.
that like they give you like a sculpt made out of crates that you have to break, and if you break the wrong one, you just explode. If you like any test that you fail in the most minimal way, like hit all like 30 balloons and you hit 29, you explode. Like you just die. Like it's a very GLaDOS test subject relationship that they've kind of replicated here. If you've ever
All right.
played Portal, um, because the relationship between you and whoever's like blowing you up is just like kind of like platonic. Like, oh, we're just doing this for tests. You didn't pass the test. Sorry, bye. I'll see you later. Um, and so it's I don't know. It's cool. It's cute. I was really impressed with it. What even creeped me out more about Splatoon
Hmm.
is though that the story behind of it is really weird. Like the
Yeah.
story behind the squids and these octolings are that.
Give me a small taste. We put up enough spoiler warnings. Give
Oh,
me
I
a
mean,
small
just
taste of the
just like
story.
the base story of Splatoon is that like humans have died. Like they even
Hmm.
like even in the manga they say like, oh, like humans, they melted the ice caps, they flooded the world. Some of them did go underground to survive, but they all perished. They died. And after that, like all these little ink kids like evolved from nowhere. And so I was like, wow, like there's no humans. And even in game, like one of the characters says that she finds like human bones in her backyard. So
Wild.
I don't even get it. I was just I don't know. It's really
What?
creepy. I
Why
don't
does
get.
it need to be that dark? It's just
I
it's like a hyper J-pop Jet Set Radio paintball game.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't need
is. I don't know.
it doesn't
It's
need
very yeah. It's a very
all that.
Japanese backstory though, and I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I mean, I love Splatoon 2. It's an esport that's really great. Outside of that, I've been playing Hollow Knight 2, or Hollow Knight. It's
Hmm.
such a good Metroidvania game. I believe it came out back in like 2017,
Hmm.
so it's not
I,
too
I've
old.
I've heard a bunch of really good things about it, but I haven't ever gotten around to play it myself.
Yeah, if you like Metroidvania games, Hollow Knight is. If you like Metroidvania games and Dark Souls, Hollow Knight is like perfect for you.
Okay.
In that like the combat aligns itself more with like Symphony of the Night, right? In
Hmm.
that like you have to pay attention, and that
Hmm.
when you take damage, you don't have a lot of frames before you take damage again.
Okay.
Um, Also, its exploration reminds me of Castlevania, in that they'll like attract you with like an area that you can
Hmm.
see but that you can't access.
Hmm.
And then Guacamelee does that as well.
Yeah.
Metroid does that as well in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But really, it's the I think where it shines is its ability to take Metroidvania and platformer mechanics and apply a Dark Souls feel to it, because it is not a nice game. I mean, like you have to have a resource that you gain, and when you die, you have to go back to your like specter and
Hmm.
kill it so that you can gain back your currency again.
Oh, geez.
So it has a very rogue. There's a lot of rogue like elements.
Hmm.
The characters don't really have voices, but they have kind of like voiceovers that are just noises, but they're all bugs. So it feels like a game that del Toro would really make almost,
Hmm.
because the whole game is dark, the whole game is grim. All of the color palettes are based on like darker hue, on darker tones. So it's like there's
Hmm.
blues, there's green, there's purples, um, and there's even oranges, but they're not like very bright. So the whole
Yeah.
game is very dark. And it's amazing. I don't know how to say it. It is an amazing game. Like the story like slowly pulls you in by making you uncover more of the map with every ability that you acquire. And just as you, at least for me in my experience, I just as I got like annoyed with the game because I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my fucking god, like I don't know where to go. These people
Hmm.
aren't telling me what to do, and I can only map manage for so long. It ended up being like it ends up placing you right where you need to be, just so that you can
Nice.
be like, okay, great, like I want to explore this new area, even though I don't have a map. Like you need a map for not only the whole game, but you need it
Hmm.
for each new area that you explore. So you have to go find the person who's hiding, who has a map that you have to buy. Then you have to go and find the bosses for that area, find the upgrades for that area for your character, and then you have to go back to like places that you couldn't reach before to then access the game further. It is such a good game. It is.
Wow.
It is. Yeah, it is out for the Nintendo Switch. I'm playing it on PC because I'm a cheap bitch and I bought it on Steam for like $8.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get it on Switch. I feel like it would be amazing on Switch, really.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. I think it's won a few awards so far.
Yeah.
And there's a new DLC coming out for it that's absolutely for free.
Oh,
that
wow.
they're releasing. Yeah, it's fantastic. I can't gush about it anymore. It is so dark. It is like it is. Again, Guillermo del Toro would really probably like it. It's a really, really cool game.
Nice. I've always wanted to play it. I love Metroidvania games, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite genres because like the genre as a whole gets kind of samey. But like once a year, I'll pick a new Metroidvania and I'll play it to completion and love it. And
yeah, I think Hollow Knight is like right up your alley. It is.
Yeah.
It's have you ever played a Dark Souls game?
I have not.
Dark Souls does a really good job, and Dark Souls and rogue games in general does a really good job because Castlevania Symphony of the Night also had this rogue element to it that made it was like you and the castle, and you had to climb it. And you knew that it wasn't going to be easy because the design of Castlevania's castle is that it's very confusing to navigate. So I really feel like Castlevania, I guess that's the closest analogy that I can give you. But Dark Souls games and rogue games, and it does a good job of really giving you such a good sense of scale in terms of who you are versus what you're going up against, because each of these mobs and each of the enemies that you fight have like a dance and a pattern that you really have to pay attention to, and it's not forgiving, and you do have to obey a lot of the combat rules in the game. And so I think it's fantastic because that's how the game really feels, in terms of the design, in terms of its narrative, in terms of its sound. It's really somber and it's very, very creepy. There were many times where like I'm just like playing it, and I'm playing it on this TV and the lights are low, and I'm like playing it with my partner, and I'm like, I don't want to go through this level because it's too creepy. You do it for me. Right? I'm just like, oh, no. Like the only thing that you can see in this part of the map is your character, and nothing else is lit up. Everything, like literally everything else is black. You hear something scurrying in the background. I'm not fucking with it. Like it really kind of gets a lot of responses from you. And I love that about games. So yeah.
Nice.
I recommend it.
So, the next thing that we have on our docket for today is, we're going to do a little hype session for our, games fourth game that we can choose from, because I know both of us are excited about the games. So, Rizzo actually had to leave last episode, so he wasn't here when we announced it, or he would have exploded because he's really about both these games. But the two games that will be that you guys will pick for us to play is Xenogears and Dragon Quest V.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be exciting.
So if you had voting power in this, which one would you go for right now?
I like Xenogears. And it's not because so it's not that I don't like Dragon Quest, right? I think that my first person RPG that I attached to was Shin Megami Tensei. So when I was looking at, like, I see the appeal in Dragon Quest, and when I look at its art and I'm like, why wouldn't you play Dragon Quest? Like, why wouldn't this be an RPG that you play given its art direction? I don't know. I just have never been able to get into Dragon Quest, and I know that Spiffle will like hate me for that. But it is, and it's not that I don't like it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been like heavily attached to any of the characters.
Yeah.
Or
I've
attracted to them.
Yeah, I've played Dragon Quest 1 and most of Dragon Quest 3 at this point. I say most. Spiffle will laugh. Will probably say that I'm like 1% in, but it feels like a lot that I've played in Dragon Quest 3. But there's like design ideas in it that speak to what Dragon Quest is more than the characters, and it's it's the core gameplay loop is what's fun in all the Dragon Quest games. Starting in like 3 has a little bit of a story and like is more story than Dragon Quest 1 had. Dragon Quest 1 literally was like, hey, you're the hero, the princess is lost and there's a dragon, go kill it. And you do all of those things. They give you a checklist, you check them off, and that's the game.
Done.
But the third one, you have like, oh, your dad was such a great hero, but he's dead, so we need you, who are training under him, to go and help him. And then it sets up a lot of the stuff that happens in 1, because it's a prequel to 1, and it's super cool in that way, that it's like it builds its story that way. But by the time you get to 5, it's like a fully fleshed out RPG story. So I know the later ones have like characters and stuff like that, but right now I'm excited to play it just because, like, so Dragon Quest is one of the first JRPGs, and Dragon Quest decided that as you fight, you get experience, because experience is you are experiencing something. So if you do something twice, the second time you do it, you'll be better than the first time you do it. So when you die in Dragon Quest, you rush back to the Pokemon Center, that is the castle, and the king is like, oh, you were nearly dead, but here you go. You can save and go back out on your world again, and you keep all of your experience, you keep all of your items, you just lose half your gold. So it's like exactly like a Pokemon Center, but and so the main gameplay loop is a lot of backtracking, but like every time you backtrack, you like make it your bitch as you're going through it. So like you'll go through and you'll be fighting the slimes outside of the castle, and then you'll reach like this ghost, and the ghost will wipe you. So then the next time, every slime that looks at you, you just rub its face into the ground, and you're just like, what? I'm in charge now. Like, this is my plateau. This is not your plateau. And then you get to the ghost and you beat him, and then you come across a golem, and the golem will wipe you. And then you'll go back and you'll make that ghost your bitch, and you make your way through that. So instead of just like exploring through the story, you kind of like dominate everything that happens around you, and it's super cool.
Like, I played Xenosaga, which was the one that was on PS2. So I'm sorry, Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest 8 was the big one for PS2.
Yeah, is that the one with the guy? What was his name? He had the silver hair, red outfit.
I don't know. The main character is the one with he has a yellow coat and a red bandana.
Yeah, this was the one that I played the most of.
Yeah, that's the one most people have played the most of.
Yeah, and it was a great game. I didn't beat it, but it was something that I really enjoyed, and I was like, okay, if this is what Dragon Quest... Like, if this is what I was missing in Dragon Quest, I think I could definitely see what my issue... Like, why I should have played the rest.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first 2 didn't sell very well compared to, like, Final Fantasy and stuff, so we got 4... of the first 4 on NES, and then we didn't get any of the Super NES S ones, and or any of the PlayStation 1 ones. Like, we didn't get anything from 4 till 8, and so it was after 8 that they started giving us all the other ones and like remakes and stuff like that. But it took us a very long time to actually get the series, and so a lot of people slept on them because, like, NES RPGs, even the best ones, are still NES RPGs, and there's just not a lot that you can do in those. And so we didn't get the opportunity to like play in their world as much over here in America. Meanwhile, in Japan, Dragon Quest is the shit, because they've had coming up on 11 games and endless remakes for them to play over and over, and we're playing catch up over here.
Right. So you were talking about you like RPGs in space, and Xenogears really is that. Pretty much any Xeno game
is space, except for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. There's no space so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get to space, but right now it seems thoroughly rooted in its fantasy setting, so I don't think space is coming.
But I just, when I played Xenogears for a little bit when I was younger, and briefly, in my, I guess, like early 20s, I don't know. it's appealing to me because it reminds me of Gundam. It reminds me of old school anime like Neo Genesis Evangelion and
Hmm.
RPGs like Dragon Quest. And so I
Hmm.
think that Xenogears would be fun for me to explore just because like I really do want, I don't know, I really want a futuristic RPG that I'm like fanning over, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel like Xenogears is old enough where that I could do that with it because Xenosaga
Hmm.
would be really hard for me to play through at the moment, even though I
Yeah.
would. Like I would play through a Xenosaga game for this
Yeah.
for this book club, but it's Xenosaga, and we all
Yeah.
know what that means.
Yeah. There's
Um,
Xenosaga is probably the one, especially if it gets a HD remake, that we'll play first when if we get the long cast where we do two episodes a week, one of which is a super long game, because we would have to play all three of them. That's like 150 hours of RPG. There's no way
yeah,
we would have that on
that's
anything but the
rough.
long cast. But yeah.
No, I mean, I'd be excited for Xeno. I'd be excited for
Hmm.
Xenogears. It's a game that really has good origins. The story for it wa- was really long, but
Hmm.
I think that it's really worth exploring. I think that it's an underrated RPG too. I think that a
Yeah.
lot of people know Dragon Quest, but I
Hmm.
think that when you think of the Xeno series, there's enough love it or hate it that the
Hmm.
population of people who love it is like, there's already like a discussion to be had about the game. I
Hmm.
guess it's really interesting. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what we play next. Really.
One thing uh I love about Xenogears is it was originally going to be Final Fantasy VII. The guy that made it, he made his pitch document when they were like, "All right, what ideas do you have for the next Final Fantasy?" And he's like, "What if Final Fantasy but mechs?" And they were like, "No, but that rules. So go make the game anyways."
Right.
And
they're
so then
like
we got
they're like,
Xenogears.
no, that's not for us, but you can
Here's
make
some
money
money.
off of it. Yeah, so here, take it. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought it was a super cool like aside for it. So we'll see which I like better, the real Final Fantasy VII or Xenogears.
So if you wanted to talk about more games, I wanted you to go ahead, just like talk about whatever. But I did want to talk about an IRL thing involving something that happened last week.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, so we on the RPG Book Club, we don't talk. I mean, I don't shy away from talking about politics or political stuff.
Hmm.
Really, in most places in the gaming industry, I think that we have all found that it's been pretty difficult to do.
Hmm.
Um, because not because like I can't open my mouth and say anything, but really when you are a minority of any kind in the gaming
Hmm.
industry, it becomes difficult, and that's pronounced for a lot of reasons, right? But that really brings me to my point about Jessica Price, because if you don't know anything about Jessica Price was a developer for Guild Wars 2, a YouTuber known as Darior, and a community figure. Uh, I do believe that, like, as people who work for like a video game company, it's important to like not interface terribly with your community. And of course,
Hmm.
all of this is in my opinion, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't represent anybody except myself.
Yeah.
Just saying that.
As a reminder,
Just yeah, yeah.
we
Just as
work
a
we
reminder,
work
I
for
work for
Blizzard,
Blizzard.
but this
Um,
is just our opinions, not the opinions of our parent company, Blizzard.
right. I can completely see why people don't want people to respond on a community level,
Hmm.
but as a or to the community in the way that she did, because if you don't know what happened,
Hmm.
um, Jessica had gotten some feedback um about specifically um like her experience and writing, and how she writes quests, or how quests were wrote in in an MMORPG. Really, she put out a
Hmm.
tweet on July 3rd, saying, the secret is I'm not sure if it's possible to make an MMORPG character compelling, because people have different expectations about what that character will be, as opposed to a pre-designed character in a single player campaign.
Hmm.
Um, keep in mind that this person has been in the gaming industry for a while now,
Mm-hmm.
and she's also a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing is that I don't think that there should be any issue with expressing like your opinion, because the person who responded to her saying like, it was a dude saying like, I'm sorry, Darior is not what they were known as online. My fault. I just want to correct
So,
that.
okay.
Someone did respond saying like, "Hey, that was a really interesting read, but let me disagree with you slightly. I believe the issue lies in narrative constraints and the living stories narrative design, and this is specifically talking about ArenaNet and
Mm-hmm.
Guild War 2's like I guess narrative design."
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really take to that well, because what ended up happening was that after he had said all this, she's like, "Thanks for telling me what we do internally, my dude." Like, she's like, "Thanks for this, but like, I you're telling me stuff that I already know."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she expresses disinterest in explaining and or having this dialogue with specifically people who don't know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she says specifically, like, the next rando asshat who attempts to explain the concept of branching dialogue to me as if, having worked in the gaming narrative for a fucking decade, I have never heard of it, is getting insta-blocked. And I think that I think that what that was a real comment on mansplaining. Because
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is that we talk to women in the industry all the time and explain things to them that they already know. Just
Yeah.
because really men have a terrible tendency to do that to women. There's a
Yeah.
lot of misogyny that happens, and unfortunately, people think that women just don't know what they're talking about, even if they are veterans about something.
Yeah.
Um, Jessica then, after she says that, she's like, "We've got a lot of man. We got to hurt." She says, "Since we've got a lot of hurt man feels today, let me make something clear. This is my feed. I'm not on the clock here. I'm not your emotional courtesan. Just because I'm a dev, don't expect me to pretend to like you here." And then she advocates for work-life balance. Um, and uh, ArenaNet did not like it
Mm-hmm.
at all. Um, they ended up firing her and another dev who kind of came to her aid, and
Mm-hmm.
it has set a sort of dangerous precedent
Yeah.
about how women can speak up in the gaming industry, because shortly after this happened, there were many feeds on Reddit, and there were like, I mean, we could find it about how people were like, "This is good because now like we can control ArenaNet." Like, people were doing this just to specifically like um get someone out that they don't like. It is in my opinion that women in the gaming industry are. I mean, like, I don't want to be a woman in the gaming industry,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't, and it's not because I don't want to be. I have an opinion about being a woman. It is just that history shows us that women and people of color and women of color and minorities don't get exactly treated fairly, right?
Mm-hmm.
My issue with this, with how this all happened, was that
Mm-hmm.
even if she had responded very brash, right,
Mm-hmm.
on Twitter, and even though it may have been inappropriate, like, we exist in a world where we know that this happens to women, that like that people have to go to work every day, and that not only do they have to be spoken to condescendingly by their coworkers and peers, but by people that maybe even closer to them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
having stuff mansplained to women is something that happens throughout a lot of people's lives, through a lot of women's lives. And I don't think that it's so weird to have
Mm-hmm.
someone express frustration at the behavior that the majority
Mm-hmm.
that our industry exhibits. I mean, our industry, like, is comprised of a lot of men and a lot of men in
Mm-hmm.
power. And so it's no surprise that anybody would, off the clock, express their frustration about it. I don't think I feel comfortable with the idea of, like, she expressing that she's not happy about it, or that she may be like, sure, she may have been like a little sassy about how she wanted to articulate how she felt. But the truth is that she wasn't telling any lies. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not like there were any. It's not like she was exactly spreading any misinformation. But I
Mhm.
especially don't think that anything that she said couldn't have been mulled over or couldn't have been handled over like sensitivity training, right?
Yeah.
Like I get that if and they let go of these two people based on the premise of how they interacted with the community.
Mhm.
And I get that, like, again, like, I get that you don't want to go to your community cussing them out, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just could not imagine, right? Like, having to hear the type of stuff that, I mean, look at what we saw on Twitter, right? Like, she makes a comment about a design, and then someone injects their opinion onto hers to disagree with a veteran. Like, it makes no sense,
Mhm.
right? Like,
And
and not,
and like to the like the untrained eye or whatever, you look at what happened, and you're like, she said a thing, he disagreed, she blew up. She's like, she had no right to blow up, and well, maybe she didn't have a right to blow up to this guy. You know, that's not the first time that she's been mansplained to. Like, there's a word for mansplaining. That's because it happens so often. And so, yeah, in this one particular instance, maybe she like responded too brashly, but it's not its own instance. Like, I
yeah,
guarantee
this
you.
is not the only time that it's happened.
Yeah.
This happens on Twitter, like we saw, and we know it happens in real life
Mm.
when they're not working, while they're working, and even online. And so I don't know. It doesn't seem like to me that it's rational to like. I don't know. We right now the gaming industry is in the middle place of trying to be diverse and trying to figure out what they mean by diversity.
Hmm.
And it is in my opinion that like if we really care about women's diversity and also women of color very specifically too,
Hmm.
um, we also need to talk about what it takes for people to, um, I guess, really get through all of the things that oppress them or all of the
Hmm.
things that really don't allow them to do their own job. You know, I don't know. I don't feel like at the end of the day, what happened was a good thing. I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable with the idea of, I get harassed because I'm queer, or
Hmm.
I get harassed because I'm Puerto Rican, and now I can't say something about how exhausting it is, right? That
Hmm.
our industry can capitalize on those topics as being a minority without getting in trouble. I don't like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, being a woman and, being gay does not inform me of being a woman. And so
Yeah.
that's not what I'm doing here. What I am saying is that, it's a dangerous precedent to set because if for women this can happen for, I believe, anybody. Right.
Yeah.
And really, more importantly, this happened to a white woman. Like this
Yeah.
wasn't even like a Latina girl where I could be like, that was racially charged, like
Uh-huh.
I could like hand wave it and be like, there was a lot of prejudice in that. This happened to like for as far as I know, a cis white woman. And so
Yeah.
that's just wild to me because
Yeah.
like they're at the top along with white men,
Yeah.
so it's just weird. It's really weird. It's really uncomfortable. And I know I've said that like 1,000 times, but it's just not okay. I don't think it's okay that this happened. This could have been prevented in so many more different ways. A sensitivity training like would have worked. I don't think that she needed a sensitivity training. I think that what would have worked was just like, hey, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
is there anything we can do to like make this better for you? Because obviously right now, like, it's
Hmm.
frustrating, and we obviously it was not a good moment. And even though she was allowed to articulate herself and her frustration,
Hmm.
because it's her Twitter and she was off the clock, um,
Hmm.
it unfortunately cost her job. And so I do
Yeah.
hope that Jessica Price finds another job. I do hope that Peter Fries also finds another job,
Hmm.
because I do believe that they do deserve to have a job.
Hmm.
It's not easy being any minority in this industry, and we deserve to. My women deserve to vocalize how they feel about it, and
Hmm.
men may not feel comfortable with that, and we may have a lot of adjusting to do because we may
Hmm.
not like to hear how women feel about us, but that does not mean that we have a right or license to really stop them from being in our industry,
Yeah,
or really removing them from spaces.
Like me and Spiffle were talking about yesterday with the She-Ra remake, which, by the way, like, so beautiful. I'm so
right?
I'm so
God,
ready for
her
it.
Her boots look so comfortable.
Like everything about it looks amazing. But so many dudes on the internet are like, wow, way to make her anti-beauty and anti-feminine, as if dudes can say what beauty or feminine is. And so me and Spiff were talking about it, and we're like, when you have 100% of everything catered to you, when you only get 99%, it feels like an assault on you. Just like fucking Dudley Dursley, when he got 37 presents, which is more than last year, but this 37th one was small. It doesn't count. He wants 37 big presents.
Yep.
And like that's what that's how like dudes on the internet are. And so they can sit there and mansplain at you and everything, and everything's fine. But then a woman like voicing her opinion back, like suddenly that's the 99%
that is the last straw on the camel's back,
and then it like explodes. And so like if say I was a developer and I had cussed somebody out like that, people would have been like, oh man, that was rude that you did it. But because it's her, like, I guarantee you that woke up the Gamergate assholes that went on Reddit and were like, dug up all the stuff that they could and went down to like have smear campaigns and yada 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 and all of that stuff, because it's like, oh, a woman voiced her opinion, and therefore it's like the most horrible thing.
I absolutely agree. You know, it's funny because you would think that with Gamergate that we, you know, I guess I don't think we're saying that women can't be assholes or wrong. Like, you know, if I do cuss someone out, I'd be like, wow, girl, you did that. You know? But that's not what happened.
I do think that, like, in the grand scheme of all of it, that she probably should have handled that better. But like, I don't fault her for the way that she handled it. And
it shouldn't cost her her job.
It shouldn't cost her her job.
Suspend
for sure.
her. You know, like, put her on like a 2-week suspension. Do something, right?
Yeah, but
it did
not like her whole job.
Yeah, like because I don't think that the outcome matched the offense, right? Like
not at all.
Right, like, you know, of course there are people that have ill intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't think that there are enough women in power in our game industry for us to assign ill intent to women. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. It's not like everything is on an equal footing to be like, oh wow, what was she doing? Look at her tweet. She wasn't really cussing anybody out. She sounded like a woman who was tired of it.
Yeah.
Is what she sounded like. I'm sorry about that. She sounded like a woman who was just like over the experience of having the things that she says be contradicted or approached to a guy. Mm-hmm. You know, when men talk about design, it's really set in stone. And I know that everyone's going to be like, wait a minute, the forums are there to give my suggestions. But that doesn't necessarily mean that how that feedback is I guess given directly to those developers always looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
And really, furthermore, it doesn't matter how mean people were to like someone like Ghostcrawler.
Uh-huh.
People have always been worse to women.
Yeah, and like in the like greater scheme of things, like, people are assholes to game devs no matter what.
Yeah, no, for sure. We see it every day.
And then it's worse for women. And so, like, when you count all the straws on this camel's back, you have like not only all of the mansplaining she does just trying to like buy a coffee at Starbucks, but then you also have like every time, I guarantee you, every single change that they've ever made for Guild Wars has been responded with a tweet. You guys are ruining Guild Wars, and nothing about this is good. This is not what I wanted.
Yeah, and how is this any different?
And so it's like, this was the same thing plus mansplaining plus all of that. Like, it's pretty easy for me to see why she popped off, and I don't blame her for popping off whatsoever. She probably, like, because here's personal story about me. So I was a manager at a movie theater before I started working for Blizzard, and there was so Fandango and Google like scrub websites for showtimes, but they do it like a million weeks in advance, and showtimes are changing usually up until the movie starts playing, like constantly. And so because they scrub it so far in advance, the times are usually wrong on their website. But if you want to fix it, we have to go and pay. And we're like, we're not going to pay you. We have our own website. Like, we'll just tell everybody to go to our website. So a frequent thing would be if we had to move some things around, so people would come up, be like, oh, I want the 2:30 blah, blah, blah. And we're like, we don't have a 2:30 blah, blah, blah. Blah blah blah. He's like, oh, it said online. I was like, we don't control Fandango. They don't. We can't guarantee that those times are right. And most people are like, oh, okay, I'll have the 3:30 for blah blah blah. But this guy comes in and he's like, oh, I have it printed out that it's here at 2:30. And I'm like, but this is from Google. And he's like, but if it's wrong on the website, why don't you fix it? I'm like, I'm not Google. I can't fix it. And he was just started like going off on me and like yelling at me and like telling me that it was my duty to update Google and blah 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 blah, and that no one's going to go to our website and yada 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 yada. And I was like, look, if you don't want to watch Mr. Peabody, you can just get the fuck out of my store. And I shouldn't have cussed him out. Like, it was inappropriate for me to have done it.
Right.
But like, I didn't need him in my face about
right.
all of that. And right. So Absolutely. It's like, I see that happening with her. And I know that it's not just like people demanding a refund that she has to deal with, because she has to like fight an uphill battle every single day.
Yeah.
So,
it's a very layered, I think the way that you put it is really good. Not only does she deal with like traditional trolling, but she deals with harassment as like it's online. She's a game dev. She's a woman, and it's like text-based communication. So all of this is just bad. All of it is just not working in her favor. That doesn't mean that we should not assign some degree of understanding or leniency. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we live in our gaming, like, I don't know, our gaming industry, we know how it behaves, we know how it operates, we know what it does. And if we really care about equality in this industry, we really have to take care of the people who are affected by our industry the most, because we are responsible for it. Like, it's our it's like our people, our industry. That is we have to be responsible for ourselves. You know, like we are the same gaming industry that puts the stress on women and people of color, and that does not include them. And so it is our responsibility to fix that, not to kick people out. That's how I feel about it.
So, before we finish up here,
Q&A.
Let's do some Q&As. Our first one comes from our friend JRPGT. He's a Let's Player and a Twitterer of JRPGs from our Discord, and go check him out. He's midway through his Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Let's Play, and he does a thing that I like. It's really cool, where he does like an episode every day where he plays like 30 minutes of the game, and then on Friday he like makes a highlight reel of all of his favorite parts from the week, and then he'll have the Let's Play highlight reel that comes out on Friday. So if you want the long form Let's Play, you have it. If you like the ones like a lot of like the bigger YouTubers will do just like clips, Let's Plays, usually from like their streams and not like a actual sit down Let's Play. He does like, you get both of those from his channel, and I really like it. But his question is, what's one RPG that you've played that no one has ever heard of, and why should or shouldn't we play it? I'll go ahead and say that Survival Kids is my answer. No, let me think of a real answer.
An RPG. What's one RPG that you have played that no one has ever heard of? Oh, Enchanted.
And it doesn't have to be good or bad. Like, you can have spent a lot of time on it and realize this was bad, and no one should ever do that again.
Enchanted Arms, absolutely, hands down. It was on the Xbox 360 when it first came out. Let me confirm that.
I don't even.
Enchanted Arms.
I vaguely heard of it, and that's it.
Yeah, Enchanted Arms was an RPG that had probably some of the most offensive gay characters ever, so don't ever touch it. It is very terrible. Very, yeah, like, it's not, just don't do it. And such bad voice acting too.
Yikes.
Very, very bad voice acting. Just don't. Yeah, that's literally my take. I played it and I remember going like, why is this character talking like this? Going online, and I want to make sure that I'm ready before I say this. But I think that they even use like a very bad. I think they use a kind of like shitty term for one of the characters there.
Yikes. That's gross and uncalled for. I'm trying to think. So this is like it's RPG adjacent, but it's free, so there's a bonus there. But I played this game a couple of weeks ago called Princess Remedy in a World of Hurt, and it's a RPG bullet hell, and you walk around, find all the sick people in all the towns, and sick people is also like wilted flowers and like hurt dogs and everything, but you're a healer, and how you heal is you like fire pills and syringes at incredibly high speeds on like a bullet hell screen. And so you talk to an NPC and he's like, oh, I don't feel so good. And it's like, healing start. And you go into a battle and you have a small screen that you're walking around with a bullet hell mini game to like kill all of their viruses and stuff. It's like 45 minutes long. It was super charming. It was pretty hard, but it's still only 45 minutes long. So it's not like it'll stump you being hard. But it was really adorable and really good, and I highly recommend playing it.
I stay away from Enchanted Arms.
So our next one comes from our good friend Essie, and she asks a question that I know it will strike a nerve with Rizzo. So she asks, are bagels just donuts that aren't sweet?
This is an attack. And I don't know what's happening. The answer to that is no. Bagels are delicious. I come from
most of my favorite bagels are also sweet. So,
so I come from New Jersey. I moved when I was like 13 or something like that. But bagels are a part of my food group. And no, I would not say that. I love donuts. Let's just get that out of the way. Donuts are that girl. She's great. She's lovely. She's wonderful. But bagels are not donuts. You can put sweet stuff on bagels. You know, you can't say the same about a donut. You can't say that you can put salty stuff on a donut and get away with it. If I catch you putting bacon on a donut, don't at me. Okay, like I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, they're also drastically different in their chemical makeup and preparation. Like donuts are a special kind of like pastry dough that's fried. Bagels are a bread that's boiled usually. And that's like it. Like they're just both round and that's it. They're not even close to the same.
Yeah, also you can literally make a donut by taking some like biscuit dough that you get from the store and deep frying it. And then mixing some confectioner sugar with milk and drizzling it for the glaze. And that would be the same thing. You cannot do that for a bagel.
No.
So, so I would not say that it's the same thing. Both are equally delicious. Both are breads. Both are my weakness. Not the same.
As a follow-up from Tuxedo Ken, he says, where can we buy all the bagel holes? And that is something we should cancel the podcast and just go into business with bagel holes. Like, just imagine just little bites of bagel that you can
like
have.
Dip into cream cheese. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, let's do that right now.
Okay.
So, also from Tuxedo Ken, he had 2 related questions, and he says, up until now, do you feel the RPG Book Club has been as successful as you had hoped? And follow-up question, what are your plans for the future of the podcast? So what about you for the first question? Do you feel RPG Book Club has been as successful as you had hoped?
I think that success depends on a lot of factors. And until I win an award for it. I'm kidding. And no, I think that success is really is on a lot of factors. When Sam and I were talking about this, when we were just like mulling over this idea, really, it's just something that I think that we wanted to do because we are real big nerds.
Yeah, like all I wanted from this podcast has been succeeded. I wanted someone to listen to it, and we have, I think it's a steady like 20 downloads per new episode, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's like 20 subscribers. We have our total plays is way more than 20 per episode because like some people will show up and like binge the whole thing. Some people will download all of them, hate all of them, and delete all of them. But like each time an episode drops, there's 20 like immediate downloads, which means that 20 people are subscribed, so it shows up in their downloader automatically, which is cool.
Yes, but, I think I do like here's the thing. I'm someone that really, when I commit to something, I really want to go 100%. So like for me, what I go like, a podcast is like wonderful, and I'd love to see like more people like communicating with us because why not? We both work in the game industry, and I think we love that social aspect of it. Is this something that I wish that I could like is podcasting and talking about this something that I wish I could do full time? Absolutely. Yeah. But it's not something that is realistic to do at full time. So do I think that it's been a success? I mean, I don't think I've never been part of a podcast that has went on this long, and it's really weird. I think about like, oh my god, we played like 2 games already, and one of them was Persona. So like, it's kind of like wild to me. I'm like, oh wow, like we have done episodes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Like the fact that as I was putting up the episode last week, I had to type in season 3 of anything was just like, what the hell? Like, how the hell have we gotten this far? Like it's crazy to me. And then my only other goalpost was I can't afford to just do this by myself every month. And with our Patreon, we've hit the hosting cost for Libsyn, so now I can do it forever. Like the monetary impetus is gone. I have enough games in my backlog that we can keep going, even if I can't buy new games. Like everything is fine and successful as it is right now.
Really though, and it makes me happy because like thanks to the people who are like helping us on Patreon, we have like this really cool system where we can just record this guilt free. Like it's not coming like it's not like we have like a surplus of cash to just like dump into it. Otherwise, really, like, I'd be bothering Sam to do, like, a video, like, cast of this every once in a while. But really, I don't know. To answer his second question, like, what are the plans for the future of the podcast? I don't know. I think it'd be great for us to continue what we're doing, perhaps become a little bit more polished at it. But really, I want to see us, like, have opportunities to be able to like do like live shows in front of people or different like conventions. That's
what I was going to bring up. I've talked about it a couple of times. We were trying for Classic Games Fest this week. Plug for Classic Games Fest. It's the retro game convention here in Austin, and it's super awesome. It's run at least in some part by Game Over Video Games, and their bay, like Game Over Video Games is the best everything. And so that's happening this week. So we were going to try and get a panel there to do a live show where we would do one of our bonus episodes of a short game and try and stick to our 90-minute time slot as best as we could. And we were going to do that. So I have some feelers out for a couple other conventions. Haven't got anything back this year, but I definitely am going to like hit them hard as often as possible to try and get at one. And then if we don't go to a convention, maybe just at Game Over Video Games, because they host stuff every now and then. And so I feel like we could have one there, and it would be fine. And I want to do live shows. I want to make sure everybody has good mics, good headsets, all of that stuff. I want to so like as a more like content for the podcast, like of course shortcast and longcast, if those get unlocked, like those are my dream, because like I would love to be playing Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky with you guys right now. Like it's brilliant, it's my life, I love it, but it's 180 hours of RPG. I can't ask you to do that. But like those obviously, but just on like the core content that I'm looking for, I want to do more of, because like in our original pitch, if you go back to episode 0, we say we want to go through the PS3 Virtual Console library and play all of the RPGs that nobody's heard about. Like that was the plan, and then we get to Rogue Galaxy, which is one of those that nobody's ever heard about, and we're excited for it. And like our core membership still listen to us, but it was less successful as I had hoped. And I realized that like that's the stuff that I want to do, but I also need to like find our footing first and get people to trust us and follow us on that adventure. And so that's why we're doing the auto RPGs right now, because those are like, all of us thankfully are hipsters, and our favorite games aren't Final Fantasy VII or anything like that. But and so they're still moderately on brand, where we're not playing the classics. We're playing like middle grade ones, but I want to play some like Z grade ones. Like I want us to come and find like some knockoff, poorly translated Game Boy Color Pokemon ripoff video game, and I want to talk about it and talk about how it makes us feel and talk about all of that stuff. Like that's where I want to go, and I want to build up enough quote unquote success for you guys to all trust me and follow me down that dark path.
I think I mean, I don't know. I really podcasts. I think that we have like a real cool opportunity to build, like an audience, you know, that really wouldn't mind hanging out with us in like a small place where we just like have like a live show. And I guess, I don't know, I've never been ashamed to like kind of dream that big or whatever. I even told Sam that like I wanted to do like little promos at some point, and I really do hope that we get to do it, because like some of the ideas that I have are like really hilarious, I think. I know that doesn't really inspire confidence. But the truth is that I don't know. I think that the plans for this podcast is to continue to do this, and I definitely hope that, you know, it gets to take us to places where we could hear more gamers and have more people give their opinions and stuff. But yeah, that's a really good question.
I will also say that there are 3 surprises for you guys in store between the now and the end of January. So get excited for that. But I think in the Discord I've spoiled like all 3 of them, but because I talk about too much stuff in the Discord.
This happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's about it, except for I forgot. So this is not a question from our good friend Matt J. It is more just a link, and then he added me. But the new Digimon game has been announced, and it is a cross between a visual novel, a survival game, and a tactics RPG battler.
So it's
and then also digital. It's literally like 4 of my favorite things is exploration, tactics battle, visual novel, and Digimon. It's like all of that put together. I am incredibly hype about it. It's called Digimon Survive. It's coming out on Switch, so like everything is awesome. Everything is right in the world. I hope that it sells super well, because I want Digimon to have the heyday that it seems to be having again, because there's definitely some dark times in the Digimon timeline, and I want to correct all of those, and I want Digimon to be worth its shit again.
No, I definitely feel you. I really, this is like, that's basically like your Shin Megami Tensei for the Switch.
Yeah.
Because when Shin Megami Tensei comes out, that's it. It's going to be a wrap. I'm going to take a day off. I'm just going to play it. And I don't want to hear about anything else. It's going to be so great.
Yeah.
It is going to be so great. I am excited for you, though. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks really good, and I'm real excited for it. I probably will talk about it as soon as it comes out, and never shut up. And so we'll have like a segment at the beginning of each episode where I just talk about Digimon. But yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah. To go real quick back to Tuxedo Ken's question before we wrap up. Another plan for the future that I want to do, but we'll have to get around. Like, there's a lot more barriers for this to happen than you would think. Is I would love to do our live episodes be streamed on Twitch instead of just on in the Discord, and so we would all have our webcams on. We would have it all Google Hangouty and all of that stuff on Twitch. But that's like, I don't have a webcam. Spiffle doesn't have a good mic. Right now, we record it right after breakfast, and so none of us look pretty. So there's a lot of stuff that we would have to do to get there, but that's definitely another thing that I want to happen. But yeah, let's go ahead and end this, I guess, because we've talked for an hour and 10 minutes about nothing at all.
Yep.
So
that's about right.
I hope you guys like this episode. I hope it's not a waste of time, but it's probably a waste of time. I'll probably have the lowest download numbers for everything, but
that's okay.
That's fine.
We did it. We're here.
If you like what you hear and you want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RPGBookclub. And if you want to just talk, we have a Twitter at RPGBookclub, an email at rpgbookclub@gmail.com. And then, of course, our Discord, our beautiful, lovely Discord with, let's see, we have 17 people that come and hang out in our Discord with us, which is super dope. I love each and every one of you. And
we appreciate you more than you know.
Yeah. And the link for that is in the description of this episode and also on our Twitter. I should probably make us a Facebook that can just redirect to Discord, all of those things. But yeah, come and talk to us. We love hearing from you guys. Next week we're still on track to play Chapter 3 of Sailor Moon: Another Story. Me and Rizzo have already beaten it, and both of us already know that Sailor Saturn, we take back everything bad we said about her in episode 1. She is now our bae. She is now the best. Instead of being in the back of the formation, she's now in the front of the formation. She's dealing like 3,000 damage sometimes. Like, she is everything we could have ever hoped for. I'm sorry for doubting you. I take back everything that I said.
I was wrong,
but we'll get into that in detail next week. We should have everybody back. Spiffle will have his computer fixed by then, and everything will be groovy. But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I've been Michael Rodriguez.
And I love each and every one of you. And I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.